Okay, do I have everyone's permission to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay. Today we're going to long range plan unit 2 for 4th grade ELAR. I will be the facilitator. Miss Greenlee, you are going to be the recorder, so you'll be recording that in the plans. Mrs. D, you will be resource and timekeeper. Okay, so you'll manage the time and then you will make sure we have all the resources that we need. So the first thing I want to go over is the collaborative team framework.
Okay.
The first question is, who are your students? That's just building relationships. We're going to focus on the blue question that is, what do your students need to know and be able to do? Since we're starting at the beginning of a unit, that's our focus for this planning period. So if you pick up, I gave you 2 resources. You have the district unit plans, and then you also have the unit assessment. So before we dive into the unit plans, I want to take a dive into the unit assessment. And Mrs. D, I want to spend about 10-15 minutes, so if you could just monitor the clock while we're doing that. So let's talk about this unit assessment. So what do you notice about the first passage?
Oh, it's a drama. It doesn't look like a regular narrative or a regular story.
Okay, so if we're modeling for our students before we give them the assessment, we want to talk about what features do you see, what do you notice, what clues do you have as to the genre. So we see characters, we see scenes, we see dialogue. Okay. And then let's look at some of the questions. So I did provide you with the blueprint, and then we've all taken the assessment beforehand, but I want to look at the questions that specifically focus on our essential standards. So looking at the unit plan, our essential standards are 4.6E, making connections to personal experiences, 4.6F, making inferences and using evidence to support understanding, 4.7C, using text evidence to support an appropriate response, 4.8C, analyzing plot elements. And then when you flip over, you also have recognizing characteristics of structures of informational text and central idea. And then the last one is 4.10A, explain the author's purpose and message within the text. Now, we've gone ahead and labeled these questions. I don't believe all of those are in this assessment, but I do want to focus on the ones, so they are starred. Let's look at question 2. Question 2 is 4.6F, inferencing. Yes.
John's reaction when Andrew asks him to hand over the kitten shows that he is, and then the answer is disappointed to give the kitten back.
Yeah, so like there's eager, surprised, disappointed, angry. The kids are going to have to infer that emotion that the character's having. Okay? Let's look at item number 4, and this is one of those new star items. It's a hot text where they have to like click the text. So it's a circle the best sentence from lines 20-25 below the answer to the question. This is over plot elements. Which line from the play shows a resolution to join John's problem? So make sure when we are instructing that we're using the word resolution. It is a new word for the kids. They may not know it. They might know it as solving the problem, that sort of thing. So just make sure we're using that key word. And what answer do we have for that one?
Thank you so much. She studies John's face. Hey, we live right over there. You can still visit him.
Good job. Okay. All right, let's turn the page. Now we're on another reading passage. What genre is this reading passage, and what clues do we have for this one?
Ooh, argumentative.
How do you know it's argumentative?
Well, there's a list of key terms. Let's see. We highlighted those words the other day in class, right, with the students? Let's see.
I believe.
I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Another reason to begin this program, and so you hear that very persuasive language throughout there, so we want to highlight that with the kids when we're previewing this assessment.
I think that was like the pink color or something last week.
And then look at the very end. It says, I hope you will consider this as a great idea. I am excited to get everyone writing for the Elkins Prize for Writing. So that's kind of that call to action that we see at the very end of an argumentative text. Okay. All right, so let's look at our questions. Look at question 6, part A.
Okay.
We've got another
Inferencing.
Inferencing,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we're going to see inferencing a lot. And then even part C is a essential standard because then they have to provide text evidence for that inferencing. Okay, and then if you look at question 8, another inferencing question. Yep. So there's lots of inferencing. So knowing that, I would make sure that as we're going through this unit that we are hitting on inferencing multiple times, making sure they have a clear understanding of it. Probably a good time to use like a common formative assessment. We could pull old STAR questions that are inferencing, 4.6F, and have them work on it, but we need to make sure that when we begin to plan that is something that we're working on.
Should I also ask the librarian to do a lesson on inferencing?
I think that would be a great idea, and she can supplement the classroom instruction. Or maybe you could co-teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a
That's
great
awesome.
idea.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last part is our revising and editing. And editing is not an essential standard, but revising is. And this is one of those short constructed response items where it looks like they have to rewrite the sentence. So we need to build that into our lessons too, is that they are doing that where they actually rewrite the sentence. Is that in the space provided? Yep, write a new showing, or they're not rewriting. They are having to actually write a new sentence.
New sentence that
Ooh.
supports it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That
okay.
uses that information. In.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
different. Okay, we need to make sure that we
So
include
a
that
new
as well.
sentence. Okay, that's interesting.
Okay, so now we're going to jump into, and we're going to start planning. We're going to big picture plan. We're just going to focus on reading for today's meeting.
Okay.
But in the back of our mind, we know inferencing.
We're at 7 minutes so far.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to grab the big picture plans. And something I wanted to point out about these big picture plans is that typically our units in ELAR are 6 weeks. This is only a 5-week unit. So if you look at, I'm on the page 3, you'll see there's week 1, then you see week 2, then you see week 3, and that's all out of module 1. I'm sorry, module 3. And then when we go into module 4, we only look at week 4 and 5. There is no week 6, and it's because there's a note here. Because of the shortened fall semester, weeks 5 and 6 have been combined. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that they brought those two together.
All right.
Okay, so let's begin. Megan, you have the template for the long-range plan, so you're going to type. Mrs. D and I will look at our resources. Our goal today is to select a mentor text for the week, focus on the skills, because remember we're still in Unit 2, so we haven't started that Tier 2 routine yet where we're doing TEKS by genre. And then we also want to have a short constructed response at the end of the week for these kids to be writing. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, so we're looking at Module 3, Week 1, the week at a glance. And it looks like we have Never Give Up, which is an argumentative text, and then we have Rent Party Jazz, which is a literary fiction, and nonfiction, I'm sorry.
Historical fiction.
Yes. Oh, are you, okay.
Rent Party Jazz. Oh, where are you looking?
Right here it says literary nonfiction.
Oh, well, in
I think
here,
they're called,
it
yeah.
says historical
Because it's that
fiction.
story that's set in,
It's
like
it's
in New Orleans, and
yeah.
it's
like
about
the
the jazz.
1930s. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So that
fine.
would be historical fiction.
Right, but
Okay.
it's also literary.
Okay.
It's a
well,
story.
so this week has Rent Party Jazz as the main text, which means it's the longer text. So I think that's going to be our mentor text for the week.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you want to type in Rent Party Jazz, and we're going to call it what it's called in the book. It's a historical fiction.
Okay.
And then Never Give Up, since that's that short text and it's argumentative, I think it's still very impactful since we know we have an argumentative text on the assessment, but that should be something that's used in small group. So maybe
Okay.
we can write in there small group, Never Give Up text. Okay. And so what we'll do is we're going to plan out the week. That should take a couple minutes, and then we'll go back and do learning targets for those with success criteria. So starting on Monday, ooh, it has synthesized right away at the beginning. I'm looking right here at lesson 2, and it tells you the skill right there. They're going to be doing synthesize.
Okay.
So if I'm looking at we know that plot elements is going to be a big one. We know that inferencing is going to be a big one. And we know theme is probably a good one to hit with this. So I think maybe synthesize might be really hard to do at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
And we don't have any, we have a full week, right?
Yes, we have
What
a
day
full
does it
week.
start on?
It starts on September 30th,
September 30th.
and we end on October 4th.
So it's a full week.
It's a full week.
Okay. So I think that we save that to the end, and maybe we start with plot.
Okay.
So the skill would be plot elements that week, but since that's an essential standard. And then I think that's a really good lead-in for Tuesday, which would be theme. And it does have author's craft on here. That is an advanced comprehension skill, but I think that it's appropriate for 4th grade, and I believe that was one of our essential standards with author's craft. Let's see. Explain the author's purpose and message within the text. Yes, so I would put in author's purpose and craft for, is that Wednesday?
Wednesday.
All right, so we've done author's craft, plot, theme, and then I think we should do synthesize.
On Thursday?
Yeah, because that's where they're going to take and create new information with that. So that would be good on Thursday. And then Friday we should have them do a short constructed response. So I really like HMH because it does provide questions in here. Kind of have to dig a little bit. Like there's some English language support in here. And it's got reinforcing and identify. Oh, that's not the right text. We need to look. I'm sorry, I was looking at the short text. Let's get to that. So if we turn to page. What page are you on?
Well, this one, 1T27.
227. Okay. So let's look at some of the key ideas, and then maybe we can come up with a question from that. So
Sonny works every day before school to help his mom pay the bills. Or we can inference about his character.
Yeah.
About Sonny. Would that be something we should do?
yeah, so maybe like based on the text, what can you infer about Sonny's character? And then we always want to have that line that says, use text evidence to support your answer.
Okay.
And then let's quickly write our learning targets, and we will just use those. We'll no need to reinvent the wheel. We'll just use them over and over again. So what's really neat too is if you go to those various lessons, the book actually gives you learning targets, and we can kind of just adjust based on what we need. So all right, so starting on page T55 is where they do author's craft. So if you look up here, it'll say like
Oh, voice, mood, anecdote, language, and hyperbole.
yeah, so let's see what the verb is that's used. I can explain the author's purpose and message within the text. So we want to use that verb. So for author's craft, say, I can explain the author's purpose and message by. And how do we want the kids to show that they understand that?
Okay, so we're on author's craft. I can explain author's purpose by.
What do we want them to do? Do we want them to write it? Do we want them to make notes in their book? Do we want them to talk to a
I
partner?
always like to have them turn and talk.
Okay, by talking to my partner.
Talking collaboratively.
To my partner. And I know we're kind of bouncing around because we moved the days. Let's go back to Monday. What was Monday's skill?
Plot.
Plot. Okay, so let's find plot lesson. And that's page T64. And the teak reads, I can analyze the plot. So
I can analyze.
maybe they circle these different plot elements in their text because there's multiple. So I can analyze plot elements by circling them in the text.
The character, setting, conflict, climax, resolution.
By circling the elements in the text.
Okay.
Elements in the text. Got it.
Okay, and then we need to look at theme. Okay, theme is on page T72. Ooh, look what it says under the learning objective. I can infer basic themes.
Ooh.
So let's see. That reads, what's the theme? So the theme is not an essential standard, but I like how it says I can infer the theme. So I can infer the theme, and then how will we want them to demonstrate that they understand the theme? So we have
sentence stem.
Oh, that would
by
be good
writing a
for-
sentence. Yeah.
That would be good for our emergent bilingual kids. I can infer the theme by
Writing a sentence. And then I'm sorry, the last one I think was synthesize, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we got to go back to the beginning since that was a. It starts on page T42. In the learning objectives given are, I can articulate the process of synthesizing using text examples. I can discuss the selection, actively making relevant comments. So synthesize is when they get like a new understanding. They put together information to see the author's ideas in a new way. So what kind of learning target would we want? I think they should write about this too.
Yeah.
So maybe we say, I can synthesize information from the text.
Could we have them chat with a partner and then write about it?
Yeah, that would be good. That's helpful for our EVs too.
I can synthesize.
Information from the text. And then by first talking to my partner, then writing a sentence if we want them to do both.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So is that the week?
That's the week.
Woohoo! Okay, so now we're going to move to week 2 in the HMH and open up to the week at a glance. Should be the second page.
Got it.
Okay, and let's look at what they have here. So they have 2 stories this week. They have the Galveston Hurricane of 1900, which is a narrative nonfiction. Ooh, but look at Catch Me If You Can.
It's a play.
It's a play.
Yeah, a drama.
So let's make that our mentor text.
Yeah.
Catch Me If You Can. And I know historically drama has been difficult for the kids.
Yeah.
And so I think that should be our mentor focus for the week.
Especially since that's kind of the first thing that they see on their test, on their assessment. Okay.
Now, we might need to think of like teaks by genre on this one since we're kind of splitting the week here. So I really do think elements of drama needs to be first and foremost before we get into any kind of other comprehension skills. So is this a full week as well?
So we start on October 7th and we go all the way through until the 11th. It is a full week.
So starting with Catch Me If You Can, let's do the first day. Let's do elements of drama. And that's lesson 9 if we want to look at how they wrote it.
Yeah. Oh, this one.
Lesson 9. Yeah. Okay, so they have, I can demonstrate knowledge of structure in drama. but I think they need to identify the elements, and I think they can label that in their text.
Oh, yeah.
So I can identify elements of drama by labeling the text. And that's like a really good way to start the week with the drama. Okay, so just kind of looking at the week at a glance, because we had 2 stories and we're just sticking with one. They do have visualized twice. My point of view on that is that you visualize while you're reading. A good reader does that, and we should be modeling that as we're teaching. So I don't want that to be a skill focus. But since this is a drama, I think theme is another good one.
Yeah, and I love the theme in this one. It's so much fun.
Yes. So put theme and then just copy the learning target from the week before, and we'll have the same thing. So Mrs. D, with your reading experience, what do you think would be like another skill? We could inference. I mean, you can inference in a drama.
There's a lot to inference in this story too.
Okay. So let's do that too. And you know the story really well, Miss Greenlee.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it as much. What do you think? What about, because we do have a, well, let's look at the drama. So in the assessment, plot elements is in there. Structure of a drama, which we already hit. We hit inferencing.
We could do plot elements.
Plot elements, okay.
Context clues.
Yep, and we already have plot elements from the week before, so let's just copy and paste the learning target for that.
Alright, so if I have Monday, elements of drama. Tuesday, we're doing the theme. Wednesday, we're doing plot elements. And then
We need something for Thursday. So can you tell us a little bit about this story?
It's basically a princess is in a race because her father says the first one to win this running race gets to marry my daughter. And she sneaks into the race and she ends up getting and winning the race.
So she doesn't have to marry.
So she doesn't have to marry, and she can have her choice of who she'd like to marry. But along the way, she ends up finding a gentleman who is running the race, but not to try and win her hand, just to try and give her the freedom and the choice that she wants for being married.
So what could we do with that? Because that's going to be covered in theme. Inferencing, there's a lot there.
There is a lot.
Does she change throughout the play? Does her like attitude or her feelings?
Attitude does change, because at the beginning she's very adamant she's gonna win no matter what, but when she meets him and understands why he's trying to win the race as well, because there are other runners that they meet that are just strictly trying to win her hand. When she meets that guy, he actually tells her, I don't want to win the race for me, I want to win the race for the princess so she can have her choice. And that kind of changes how she sees things.
So why don't we do like character analysis?
That would be a good one.
And so, so that will be our skill, and then we could, and this could even be like, they could do by writing a sentence. It could just be, I can analyze how the main character, well, how did they have it? It says recognize in here. So I can, I don't know if I want to say recognize, because I really want them to be able to explain how she changed.
Characters and structures.
And maybe how the character evolves throughout the text.
Right. I'm noticing that we have some, don't count your chickens before they hatched in here. Practice really does make perfect.
Some figurative language.
Yeah, exactly. And so I know that's always difficult as well.
So do you think maybe we should, instead of, maybe we save the character question for a short construct response and focus on figurative language? Good idea.
Yeah.
So for Thursday, we'll do figurative language.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
It did have it in here. It had it on Friday. Idioms, adages, and proverbs.
Yeah.
So let's look at lesson 10 and see what they have. That was a really good idea, Mrs. D. Lesson 10. It is, oops, I skipped. T128. It says, I can describe the author's use, and I think we just say figurative language as our learning target. But how will they show us that they understand the figurative language
They
used?
make their own.
I'd love for them to create their own.
Their own? Yeah.
By
I mean, we'd have to give them like
creating-
boundaries.
Yes.
Like,
It still needs to be like something
Yeah.
we could incorporate into our story.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me think about that.
Well, because remember, this is not similes or metaphors. This
Right.
is idioms, adages, and proverbs.
Right.
This is a little bit different.
You know, I know there's some books about this in the library too. You know, maybe. Ooh, what if?
What about
what if we
picking
give
one and
it- yes.
illustrating?
Yes. Why don't we give them a bank of the different ones? and
That'll
they
be
choose
really
one,
fun.
And then they illustrate it.
That's something
Yeah.
we used to do in 4th grade many years ago, is we would have them illustrate an idiom.
Mhm. I think that's good.
And then the teachers dressed as idioms that day. I was butterflies in my stomach. It was really good. Okay, so is that week? What do we need? We need Friday?
We need Friday's character analysis. We were almost there. It's the I can analyze.
Or how about I can explain how the main character evolves in the text by writing a sentence, and then we'll give you the question for them to do, because that's the learning target.
Okay, ready for
The main character evolves in the story by, and then they would.
And where is that?
I'm
Where-
looking at
Where are
here,
you looking?
right here,
I know.
recognizing the characteristics.
It's just recognizing the
Yeah.
characteristics
Mhm.
and structures of informational.
We're
text.
not teaching a skill on Friday. We're just giving them a short constructive response.
Okay.
Because that would involve inferencing.
Right.
It would involve inferencing. We'd have to do it from the plot, so at the beginning of the story and going through all of
Mhm.
that.
Okay. Are you good? Did you
I'm
get
good.
that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to week 3.
Week 3.
We are moving along, and we have about 20 more minutes.
Whew. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Go.
So technically, week 3
Oh, that's
is
good.
October 14th. That's our fall break, and then we've got our PLCs on Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be on October 21st.
Okay. All right. So this one it only has one story.
Yeah.
It says.
Right.
Okay. So
My
the
diary.
story is my diary from here to there.
That's a
Ooh, autobiography.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. Those are fun.
the kids can really connect to that because she's moving, and so many of our students have moved in the past.
Personal
that they
connections.
can make personal connections.
Yeah,
to
that's
that.
an essential standard. Okay, so I think even though they have make and confirm predictions, again, that is something that you model when you're like doing a book walk and you're just kind of looking at the text before.
Right.
So I don't think we make that a lesson,
No.
but I love how we go right into literary elements.
Mhm.
So that should be Monday's lesson is literary elements. And then let's look at what page that is. T158. Yes. So again, it's using the verbiage from,
Character setting, plot events.
and I think we already have one for plot elements. I've got your book, Megan. I took it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So I would just use the learning target that we had about plot elements already. I
Gotcha.
think that was week 1.
Yes, and we did.
And did you get the mentor text? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Plot elements. Did they have another story for a small group by
No,
chance?
that was the whole week.
Okay. Well, it is a very long story.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next lesson is point of view. And then they have author's craft in here as well. Okay. So I think what we should do is, it's a full week too? There's not-
Yes, that is
Okay.
a full week.
Literary elements, point of view, author's craft, And then maybe we do personal connections towards the end of the week.
That'd be an easy SCR for them to do, or an extended one.
Okay. All right, so I think we need a learning target for point of view.
Yeah.
166.
166.
I can distinguish between first and third person point of view. And I think by circling the pronouns in the text, because that's how you would make that determination.
It also gives us a chance to go over what pronouns are again.
Yeah.
By circling pronouns in the text. Got it.
Okay, and then I think Wednesday was author's craft. Let's just copy the learning target from the previous week. Have them do the same. Oh, you know what? They use figurative language as well in this one too. Because look, simile, idioms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a big one.
So what if we did figurative language on Thursday again?
I think so.
It would be good after that break. Make sure that they
Yeah.
got it.
Because figurative language is difficult, but then we make our SCR about what did we say we were going to do our SCR?
Personal
connections. Yes.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Thursday we're doing
Figurative language
figurative
again.
language, that's right. Trying to find it. Got it. And then Fridays are SCR for personal connections.
So tell us again what the story's about a little bit.
This little girl is moving from Mexico. Her dad has already packed up the car, and everything they own is, and they're leaving behind grandma, grandpa, abuelas, all their cousins and titos and tias in Mexico, and they're going to America and California for a better job and the American dream.
What if we say something like right about a time? Because it's a big change.
It is a big change.
So right about a time that you had a big change in your life, or in like, how did you feel about that? Because this isn't something where they're going to go. Now they need to connect it to the text. So I think we should say something about relate that to the text, right?
Yeah.
So right about a time you had a big change in your life.
We could talk about society as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas in text and society make connections to personal experiences, right? So, I mean, if they couldn't come up with something themselves, they could at least think of, like,
What would it be like?
right, like
Okay.
someone else. I don't know.
So right about a time, or right about a big, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Right about a time you had a big change in your life or in society.
I don't know. Maybe that's too broad.
We might want to just let's leave off the society, but then in parentheses for the teachers,
Yeah.
right? Like may need to be scaffolded
Yes.
for those having hard time generating an idea.
That's more of what I was
You know, like as
thinking.
a 10-year-old, they may not have
Yeah.
had a lot of big changes right
Right.
now. I mean, we do have a lot of kids that
Need
move
to
from
be
other
scaffolded.
countries.
Right.
But then I think you need to say, how is this similar to the character in my diary from here to
And
there? So
how
then they
is
make that
this
connection.
Similar to Okay, right about a time you had a big change in your life. Teachers' notes may need to scaffold for struggling writers. And how is this similar to the character in From Here to There?
Awesome.
All right.
Good job. Okay, we got
That's
2
great.
more weeks, ladies. Okay.
We're almost
Okay.
done.
So our next one, we're actually moving into module 4. It
Mhm.
says week 4, but it's actually week 1 in the book. And this is Who's a Hero? Oh, that's. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Who's a
please.
Hero is the short text.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
would be small group. The big one is Prince Charming misplaces his bride. It's a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that one. Prince Charming misplaces.
It's Interesting.
His
Places
bride.
his bride.
And what was the small group?
Who's a hero? And it's an informational text.
Oh, this is the first time we graphic features.
Yeah. And what's good, so this is what's good about Who's a Hero. The focus was texting graphic features, so that could be reinforced in small group.
Okay.
But then I think that's what we are doing the first day with that text is
Yep.
texting graphic features. Because they have it on Friday for a fairy tale. What would be a texting graphic feature in a fairy tale? Because I'm used to hearing that with informational text.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Let's look at lesson 5 on T262. Because we want to make sure we're clear on it before we teach this. Let's see what it's pointing out. Oh, it's just pointing out like the different types of like text features like bold, italic, large font, headings, capital letters.
Oh, okay.
So it's really more of text features.
Text features.
Text features then.
Oh,
And it says graphic features. It's
Speech
saying like
bubbles, illustrations.
illustrations.
But are there any in the story?
There's a lot of pictures,
Pictures.
and that helps with it. So yeah, we could do that. So texting graphic features.
Okay.
I can. Are we identifying?
Well,
text
it
graphic
says
features?
explain, but what does the T say? It should be under multiple genres. It should say.
Distinguishing characteristics. It's like,
Hmm.
not really.
Features such as diagrams. Oh, so I can explain how text and graphic features support understanding by, I think they need to write it in a sentence. Because yes, you can circle it, but that doesn't show understanding.
Yeah. By writing. Text graphic features. I can explain text and graphic features by writing in a sentence.
Mm-hmm. So they would just have to pick a text or graphic feature and then explain that in a sentence. Now, this is a full week as well.
Yes.
Okay, so they did have visualize again, which is something they just model for the class. They have theme. I think we hit theme as well, so we'll just put that and then copy the learning target from another week. I also think, close, yeah. They have point of view again, so I think we do point of view as well.
Okay, hang on. I just found theme.
We'll let you do that. So put in theme,
Theme and point of view.
Tuesday, point of view Wednesday, and then for Thursday we need to come up with. So this is a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm. Genres. Different genres.
And what makes a fairy tale unique?
It has elements of that are not real in it.
So shouldn't we should talk about that, right?
Folk tales, fables, legends, myths, and tall tales.
So they need to be able to distinguish the characteristics.
Right.
And that's because you're going to have talking animals,
Right.
magic, things
Magic.
like that. So I think that should be our
Thursday.
Thursday is I can identify characteristics.
We should have the librarian come in and help co-teach that.
That's
lesson
another
as
good
well.
one. Will you make note of that?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. And maybe the librarian can provide some more examples of fairy tales for a
Mhm.
small group
Right.
during that time.
Right. She can have them like organize them or label them, label the genres during her class.
All right, and on Thursday, I'm sorry, what were we doing? The skill was
Characteristics of a fairy tale. And then the learning target would be I can identify characteristics of a fairy tale by, and I think they should be talking about this. We've done a lot of writing in our learning targets, but I want them talking like what makes it a fairy tale? So maybe talking to my partner. And then we need to look for a short constructed response for Friday.
It's also Halloween. We could do an easy connection.
Oh, I like that.
Because that
Thursday is Halloween.
Thursday's Halloween. Friday would be they're sleep deprived and struggling on candy. But they'd be able to make a good connection to it, especially if they've dressed up as like Little Red Riding Hood the years before, or different characters, or
who they saw out trick-or-treating, maybe, if they went.
Okay, there's a story. We need to find a good question. Do we want them to make another personal connection to the fairy tale? I mean, is that really effective?
could we give them a challenge if
Do
they
you
write
remember
it?
this story?
I don't really remember this story.
So it says that Prince Frederick and Ella meet at a ball. He sends for her to move into his palace. She tells him she's bored in his palace. She leaves the palace, and then he goes to find her. It's all about courage.
It's about courage, having the grit and the conviction. Okay.
So maybe we make the connection to courage.
Okay.
So write about a time that you had to show courage, and then how is this similar to Prince Frederick in the text? So they make that personal connection. All right, we're going to move on while she finishes typing that because we're in the last week of this module. All right, this is, ooh, look at this next one.
Oh, smoke jumpers to the rescue. This is a bluebonnet.
On that Friday, we're going to be doing our unit assessment.
Okay. So we only have
So
a
we have 4 days.
4 days. Okay. So this week, or this part of the module, it has 2 texts. It has informational, and then it has myth and a play. So I think smoke jumpers to the rescue could be a small group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you say that? But then use the play as the main one because that Friday is the assessment.
Yeah. What is the play called?
Smoke jumpers to the rescue.
No, that's not the.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
a small group.
Yeah.
Pegasus and the fall of Medusa.
Ooh, they
Perseus.
love
Perseus.
Perseus.
Perseus, sorry. Perseus and the fall of Medusa.
You're gonna get excited about that.
Yeah.
Because it's calling it a fairy tale here, even though it's a myth and a play. So I think, again, is it written as with dialogue and all of that? Like it's written as a play? Because why we would do elements of a drama again.
Right.
But that's not what it's saying.
I don't
Here
think
it's saying,
so. No.
Oh, it is. Look
Is
at
it?
lesson 9. It says elements of a drama. So I think that's Monday.
Okay.
And then just copy the learning target. I definitely think it says figurative language. That's another good one to hit again. So we'll just copy that learning target. And what about? I'm on the wrong one. Let's see.
Elements of a
And
drama.
then elements of drama
script
and
again. Yeah.
figurative language, correct? Is the next one?
Elements of a drama, figurative language.
Resilience again, learning mindset. It's interesting.
And connect that with our character strong time in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so we have Monday, Tuesday, then we have Wednesday and Thursday left for that week.
Okay. So we've got elements of drama, figurative language. Are you familiar with this story? Is it a long one?
It's not very long. The kids really enjoy it though. They have a lot of background knowledge about Medusa. They like the Greek gods. They like learning about them.
So since they combined this last week, they have the Battle of the Alamo. And I know you work in social studies too. Are you at the Alamo yet?
No. They know that it's a mission in Texas, but they don't know what happened or why we remember it.
Okay. So I'm wondering if maybe we did 2 days and 2 days.
Okay.
It might be too much, but let's just see. Let's do Battle of the Alamo on Wednesday, because that is a nonfiction and we haven't done a nonfiction yet.
Right.
And I think we need to focus on central idea one day and then key ideas to like back it up.